What if I told you that the very pain you're running from is the doorway to the most powerful version of yourself? That the heartbreak, the betrayal, the disappointments you've carried, they're not just scars. They are invitations. Invitations to rise, to become, to reclaim every part of yourself that was buried beneath the weight of what you never deserved. And today, we're going to unlock that door. We're not just talking about moving on, we're talking about transforming pain into power. Pain strips you bare. It rips away the polished, presentable version of you that you thought was required to survive in the world. And suddenly, there you are, exposed, raw, uncomfortable. But here's the beauty. When life breaks you like that, it's also giving you the most honest reflection of yourself. In those moments, you meet the version of you that exists without approval, without pretense, without anyone else's gaze to influence who you're supposed to be. And maybe you don't like everything you see. Maybe you find insecurities you tried to hide, needs you never acknowledged, weaknesses you pretended weren't there. But this is where it starts. This is where your power lives. Because the moment you see yourself without the filters, you can actually start building yourself. The illusions were never protection. They were shackles. When you face pain without running, you're taking the first real step towards strength that isn't borrowed from how others see you. It's forged from your own damn resilience. You don't need to pretend you're okay anymore. The fact that you're still standing, even shattered, is proof that your foundation is stronger than you thought. And once you know that, there's nothing left to fear. Pain doesn't just shake you. It reorganizes your entire life. Suddenly the things you used to tolerate feel unbearable. The friendships that were always one-sided become intolerable. The compromises that once felt like love now feel like betrayal, but betrayal against yourself. That ache you feel is your soul telling you to realign, to stop watering dead plants, to pull your energy back from places where it was never appreciated. Pain makes everything clearer. It removes the fog of wishful thinking, of hoping people will change, of ignoring your own gut because you wanted to believe in potential. It teaches you that what matters isn't just who stays, but who shows up with the consistency and care that your heart deserves. The stories we tell ourselves about our pain, they either keep us stuck or they set us free. And most of us, without even realizing it, have built entire identities around those stories. Maybe your story sounds like, I always choose the wrong people, or I'm just too much for anyone to handle, or I'm destined to be alone because no one truly understands me. And the tragedy isn't that these things happened. The tragedy is that we believe these stories are facts. But they're not. They're conclusions we drew in moments of hurt, moments when we were trying to make sense of someone else's inability to love us right. What if, instead of seeing yourself as the problem, you saw that the people who hurt you simply didn't have the capacity to meet the depth of love you offer? What if the rejection wasn't a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of their limitations? The narrative we create around our pain becomes the lens through which we see the entire world. So if you don't rewrite that story, every new connection, every new opportunity, every new day, they all get filtered through a belief that you are unworthy. That's the real danger. Not the pain itself, but the lie it convinces you to live by. And then there's the part of us that's so eager to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to stay in the comfort of connection even when it's hurting us, that we forget to build boundaries. Pain is that wake-up call, that piercing reminder that somewhere along the line, you forgot to protect your energy, your time, your heart. When someone crosses you, disrespects you, or drains you, that pain is feedback. It's your body's way of saying, you let the wrong person too close without making sure they earned it. And that's not weakness, that's data. That's information you need to build stronger boundaries, not higher walls, but clearer standards for what is acceptable and what is not. We live in a world that encourages us to skip past pain like it's some kind of detour on the way to happiness. We're told to distract ourselves, to keep busy, to swipe, to scroll, to drink, to numb. But every time we do that, every time we dodge the discomfort, we're actually cementing our suffering even deeper. Because pain that isn't processed becomes baggage. It doesn't disappear. It just disguises itself as mistrust, insecurity, cynicism. It shows up when someone tries to love us and we push them away. It shows up when an opportunity arises but we don't believe we're worthy of it. Processing pain means facing it head on, sitting with the discomfort, asking ourselves the difficult questions. Why did that break me? What was the story I made up about myself when it happened? What boundary did I ignore? You can't heal from what you refuse to acknowledge. But when you do the work, when you sit in the quiet, when you write, when you talk to someone who sees you, you start to unpick the knots. And with every knot you unravel, you regain a piece of yourself that you thought was lost forever. No one's coming to rescue you. And I don't say that to make you feel lonely. I say that to remind you of your power. Because when you stop looking for a savior, you realize you are the hero of your story. That's what pain teaches you. It teaches you that depending on others to fix you, to complete you, to make you feel worthy again, it's a losing game. The moment you start showing up for yourself, affirming your value, taking care of your emotional needs, being your own cheerleader, you stop being a hostage to other people's actions or inactions. That's emotional self-reliance. It's not about closing off or pretending you don't need anyone. It's about knowing that even when life shakes you, you have the tools to steady yourself again. There's a quiet kind of strength that comes from surviving pain, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself, because it's felt in the way you listen more deeply, speak more gently, love more honestly. When you've been through heartbreak, betrayal, grief, or loneliness, you begin to recognize it in others. Pain softens the part of us that once judged so quickly. It humbles the ego. Suddenly, someone else's silence doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like unspoken struggle. Someone's distance doesn't feel personal. It feels like a person trying to protect their own wounds. Pain teaches you compassion not as a theory, but as a lived experience. And with that compassion comes connection. You start attracting people who aren't afraid to be real, who don't need to play games, who meet your vulnerability with their own. That's one of the greatest gifts pain can give you. The ability to connect from a place of depth rather than desperation. Not needing someone to complete you, but simply appreciating those who truly see you. Reinvention doesn't begin the moment you feel better. It begins the moment you decide not to let pain define you. So often we carry forward identities that were built in survival mode. The people pleaser, the overachiever, the one who never asks for help. But there comes a moment when you look at your reflection and realize that version of you isn't who you are anymore. Pain shook you, yes. It brought you to your knees. But it also gave you the clarity to choose who you want to become next. Reinvention means asking yourself, what would I choose if I didn't feel limited by my past? You start dressing, speaking, deciding differently. Not to prove anything, but because the new standard is honoring yourself first. You've been given pain, but more importantly, you've been given the power to transform it. That choice is yours and no one else's. I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what pain have you decided to transform starting today? Let's talk about it. Let's grow together. If this message resonated with you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe for more conversations that empower, heal, and transform. And don't forget, drop your suggestions for future topics. This isn't just my space, it's our space. Let's build it together.